Good morning, people. We're going to do this one live. Never done a live stream on the Practical Carnivore channel before. I've done live streams elsewhere, pretty frequently lately, actually, elsewhere, but not here. So today we're going to talk about a bit of news out of Japan, and it's kind of weirdly hypocritical. On the one hand, it's great news for their population, but it's kind of hypocritical. And that news is this. As various indie food-related media outlets are talking about, they're reporting that the Japanese government has banned many American ultra-processed foods because they tend to carry carcinogens. They're just bad news for people. And that sounds great, right? But there's something rather hypocritical about this. And I'll get to that in a minute. But let's take a look at some of the details of this story as we go forward. And again, since I'm doing this live, I can't put words on the screen or anything. But they're framing this as a ban on children's cereals, which would be good enough by itself, I think, honestly. We know about where Kellogg's comes from. We know about just the impact of shoveling sugar down kids' throats, what that does to kids in the long term. But they didn't actually ban American cereals. They banned something called BHT, which is actually better in some ways. They banned butylated hydroxytoluene, BHT. It's an antioxidant, and it's used as a preservative in foods, in animal feed, and in animal and vegetable oil, as well as petroleum products, rubber, and plastics. This is why you read your labels. Did you notice I said animal oils? So sometimes if you're not careful and you buy some tallow from shady companies, did you know, by the way, Carnivore Crisps now sells a tallow? They do. Totally clean compared to some other things, right? You have to read the label on anything you buy, even if it's just a jar of what looks like duck fat or lard or something, because there might be BHT or butylated hydroxytoluene. You have to read the label. It's also used in rubber and plastics. It's also actually used in a wide range of cosmetic formulation as an antioxidant at concentrations that are almost so low that they're barely registrable. But Japan has banned this in food. Now, BHT is often listed with the so-called dirty dozen, which includes nitrates and nitrites. Now, I'm not too worried about nitrates and nitrites. I tend to think that of all the so-called dirty dozen food additives, it's the least problematic one. But this BHT typically finds itself on a list with some of these other really nasty things like potassium bromate, propylparaben, BHA, TBHQ, titanium dioxide, BVO, PFAS or PUFAs, artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, and heavy metals. These things tend to come with a whole host of their own problems. They tend to do things like cause reproductive problems. They can be carcinogenic. They can destroy your metabolism. They can cause mental fogs, all sorts of other things. So the Japanese have banned BHT. And you might be asking, why did you say this was hypocritical? Well, if you know anything about the history of Japan and the artificial food market, the Japanese were instrumental in the production and development of one of the nastiest artificial sweeteners still widely legal in most places, and that's aspartame. We would not have Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi without the Japanese. They did that in partnership with some American companies, famously. And if you go watch some of the food documentaries about aspartame, you'll find that they, along with some now former American government high-ranking officials, when they were in the private sector, worked together on this. This is how you got Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, and the rest of them. And so I kind of think it's a bit hypocritical on them to do this, but at the same time, it's whatever works. This is a step forward, and you're probably not going to see artificial sweeteners banned anytime soon. There is not enough monk fruit apparently to go around to use it as an artificial sweetener or a sugar substitute in soft drinks and things of that nature. But I take that to be a good thing as a general rule. So maybe we can shift just a moment here and talk about something a little bit related, sort of. How's your grocery bill doing these days? I'm very kind of curious. I went this morning to buy some salmon to cook tonight, and I went to Walmart, and the salmon itself, it didn't seem unreasonably priced. It could be that I'm just inured against these price raises recently. But, when I had like three little plastic bags of groceries to take home, and it was $73, that raised an eyebrow with me. I saw a video on YouTube, or not, maybe it was on YouTube or maybe it was on Instagram, where somebody went over how we're told that it's really 8% inflation that we're dealing with when that's not actually the case, at least not in a way that most people would be able to understand it. When you go to the store, you'll notice your groceries have increased by a lot more than 8%. Huh. Yeah, as Mike says in the chat, bacon is through the roof. Not happy about it. Same, not happy about it at all, especially since my kids like their bacon, right? But they say it's 8%, but that's not true. He used an example of a brand of lentils in this video where it was these, come in a pouch, microwavable. Back before I was carnivore and before I was doing low carb, I liked them. I remember liking the way they taste. Probably would wreck me now, but not endorsing this the Madras lentils I saw, but they were $6 a box. Well, now they're $16 a box. How was that 7%? A 7% increase by itself should have turned that into $7.5 for a box at Costco. They're 16. Now, there are other things that go into that. So here's some of the other things that go into your price increases for your food. One is going to be, of course, inflation. Two is fuel. We're talking the transportation costs. So whenever you see politicians talking about wanting to increase the price of fossil fuels, that's what that translates into the items they're transporting being more expensive. Okay, that is factored in. A lot of people don't want to admit that, but it's true. The other thing is the cost of labor. So when you see the employees of these places getting massive pay increases, that will translate to higher prices. It just does. And so you get a kind of compounding effect, right? So the retail outlets try to make a certain percentage profit margin. So when their costs go up by a certain amount, that's going to be factored into, and then some, into the price on the shelf. So you start seeing how this can compound. And when you start seeing various different drivers for price and cost increase across the board, you will see this the prices start skyrocketing. Murray Nathan says, your brand of sardines disappeared for over a week, then yesterday reappeared 20 cents higher. I had some sardines this morning. They've been sitting in my cupboard for a while. I'm not looking forward to replacing them, though. Which brand do you use? Do you use the Wild Planet ones? Evelyn says, good for them. The Japanese are banning them, and watch the people get better. Oh, I'm sure. Although the funny thing is, Japan, they tend to consume a lot of sodium in Japan and a lot of soy products culturally, and a lot of seafood, which is normally a great thing, except for that whole plastics and heavy metals in the ocean problem that they have. And they also tend to consume a lot of MSG, although the concerns about MSG are mostly overrated. Like, I wouldn't even put MSG on the dirty 100 list, let alone a dirty 10. But I would love to see what happens if we could do that here. But of course, that's not going to happen because of the way our system works. But that's how you get your cost increases, right? You get costs increases from things like, inflation and increasing labor costs, especially shortages. If you're going through a labor shortage, like, have you ever noticed you go to one of your carnivore or keto friendly restaurants and you notice your food takes a long time to come to you, that there are just far fewer servers? Well, it's even worse in the kitchen. Back in the kitchens, they've got one or two people maybe doing all the cooking, which might be fine in a small mom and pop place, but you're talking a restaurant the size of a typical Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever other carnivore friendly restaurant. You see that there's a problem, and that turns into them offering higher and higher wages. I saw in my area that Panda Express was offering like $15 an hour. I think it was McDonald's was at 12 in my area. I mean, that's a lot, and that translates into higher costs in the restaurant, right? Because of course, if you pay people more, you got to make it up for it on the retail side. So I'm curious if anybody has any questions. I want to give a personal update here. I retooled my carnivore diet a little bit. I'm going much, much, much stricter. I still drink my coffee. There's now no dairy whatsoever in my diet. Like, I might limit myself to once a week butter. Like tonight, I'm going to have some butter in a béarnaise sauce that we're going to make to go with some salmon. But I've got a motivation to drop a bunch of weight between now and early part of next year. So I'm going to try to do that, and I will track all that here, periodic announcements when I hit personal milestones. And I'm going to cut off a question here. Yeah, somebody says heavy cream might be their downfall. I haven't used heavy cream in a long time, and I'm glad, because that stuff can actually, on paper, you're not consuming enough quote unquote calories to gain weight, but for whatever reason you still are. It's because you're consuming heavy cream. But between that and, I don't do what I eat in a day or what I eat in a week videos. I find them to be the most tedious, boring YouTube videos I've ever watched in this space, except for people like Steak and Butter Gal, who tends to eat unusual things compared to most people. Hers are entertaining. Most people, it's like, okay, you're eating ground beef. Oh, look, you're eating a ribeye. Everyday ribeyes. This week, I ate a brisket. I put a brisket in the grill last weekend, and I worked my way through most of that, and I'll finish the rest of it tomorrow. And I ate a bunch of pork belly that I also put in the grill this past week, and I finished that yesterday. So that's what I ate this week, brisket and pork belly. And yeah, I'm pretty tired of brisket and pork belly, hence we're going to do some fish today and then some brisket tomorrow morning. Am I going to cut out pork? No. In fact, I this morning at the store, I picked up some marked down pork loin. Walmart had some wonderful pork tenderloin marked down. Very lean, but again, I can easily add some beef tallow to it to give it some good fat to bring it up. This is like, if you're concerned about the fats in other things like chicken or pork, remember, they tend to be pretty lean anyway. And if you go with the leaner cuts, you can add beef tallow or butter to make it a little bit better. But I'm not going to cut out pork. I did put the baby back ribs back that they had those marked down too. And normally when I was just, eating to stuffed, I would, happily grab the ribs. But since I'm trying to lose, like really refocusing right now, it is also restricted. So not so much time restricted. I'm trying to do a little bit of like the time restricted intermittent fasting, but I'm trying to do TUMAD, do something in the morning, and then late afternoon, I'll do my second meal. So today, like at some point this morning, I need to go to a local farm supply store, pick up some pellets for my grill so I can make a large amount of salmon. My kids love it when I put salmon in the grill. Yeah, not a lot of people know this. Iowa is like pork country. People think of corn there, and there's corn and a lot of pork. How long do you think it will be for things to change in our food system, if ever? I think you need to have a political sea change, and I don't mean that in a partisan sense. I think you need to get, because most of our problems these days are up versus down, not so much left versus right. And you need to have a sea change of people where people start actually caring what the population thinks first. And you need to decentralize things. And all the movement politically, internationally, especially, is towards centralization, not decentralization. You finally gave up coffee. I'm sorry. Also, dairy, doing so much better on carnivore now. If that's what it takes for you, that's what it takes. I gave up coffee for 6 months. And the only thing I noticed is I was in a bad mood most of the time. It didn't help with my weight loss. It didn't help with my metabolic issues. So I didn't give up coffee. I'm not going to again. Looking forward to the holidays to stock up on standing beef rib roast. Walmart sometimes carries them without the bone sticking out, but they do sometimes carry those ribeye roasts anyway. But yeah, no, this is going to be a great time. As long as it's not like not from a Walmart, because Walmart never seems to have meat sales, but other stores will have these ridiculous sales for $6, $7 a pound for the big rib roasts. And I'm totally on board, on the same page with you. I will pick up a few of those, cut them into steaks, and have ribeyes to last well into the new year. Thanks for the kind words, Christian. I appreciate it. The music just says they don't eat any pork, just beef, salmon, and egg yolks. That's good. Whatever works for you to stay on plan. Beef, salmon, and egg yolks. I mean, I wish I could eat eggs. I am allergic to egg whites. I would do the yolks. The béarnaise sauce we might have later will have butter and egg yolks in it, as well as a little bit of vinegar to serve as the acid to thicken things up. But normally I don't eat a lot of eggs. I would love to be able to, but the egg white allergy makes that difficult. I do think eggs are one of those things. If you're going to spend extra money buying a higher quality of food item, eggs are one of those things. The other should be dairy. Here in South Africa, they took vegan chicken off the shelves for false advertising as a start. That is a good sign. I guess a lot of people got mad that they were thinking, now, do you mean vegan chicken, like actual, like, is this like a fake chicken substitute for vegan stuff? Because that's good too if they move that. But the like some of the worst actual chicken meat you can buy is the stuff marked as vegan, because chickens aren't vegans. Why would you want to eat something like they're not vegan animals. They should be out, in a yard, eating seeds and whatever else, but they're also eating worms and other bugs. Yeah, this is my first live one on this channel. I'm going to try to do this periodically. Part of the reason was I never didn't get a chance to make my video for today. I just was so busy, but now I've got time to do some live. So we're going to do some live. So if you have any questions or super chats or whatever, go ahead and ask some questions, because before we do that, before I sign off here in a few minutes, we'll have a chance to chat. An egg allergy is the most inconvenient allergy you can have when doing a ketogenic or carnivore diet. It just is. There is no getting past that. It really isn't. It's something I've dealt with my whole life. I thought I was allergic completely to eggs until I went carnivore and started experimenting with them by cutting out the egg whites, and it was fine. Still not wild about the taste. It's a mental thing. I mean, you spend 40 years of your life avoiding eating something, then, you're not going to get over it just because you found out that you can. Yeah, good morning to you, and good morning to you, William, from here in central Oklahoma, cattle country. Yeah, I'd like to do more lives. We'll see. See how this goes. Have I tried duck eggs? People ask me that a lot. I have never found a duck egg in the store, and all the farms around me that sell duck eggs have waiting lists a mile long. There is a farmer's market in my town. It's located in a really weird place. I was never able to find the entrance to it. I'm going to see if I can maybe tomorrow go there when they're open and see if they have duck eggs, although right now I'm kind of broke, so I don't get paid for a couple of days, so maybe not. But I haven't tried duck eggs. It's on my list, but even the Whole Foods in my town in my area doesn't sell them. But yeah, I'd love to try duck eggs. Yes, the other thing I wanted to talk about, how's the tornado recovery going? Are things getting back to normal? We still have one blinking intersection light here in town. Two actually. One in the main drag, and I kind of think they're just waiting to do that, to fix that one, because they're putting a shopping center in on one side of it. So I figure they're just waiting to get that done. My house has still not been fixed, and the delay, I finally found out what the delay was. Apparently our contractor forgot to send the pictures to the insurance company. So one of my things to do today is contact the contractor and see if I can get the pictures and then send it to the insurance company. It takes longer to separate egg yolks and seems wasteful to throw out the whites, but it's worth it. Yeah, there are things you can do with egg whites, honestly. I can't eat them, but my kids can. My 2-year-old wants to come on the stream with me for some reason. I don't know why, but here. She's got wild hair. So there she is. If you've seen the few shorts on my YouTube channel, she's the little girl who was eating the carnivore crisps. Apparently my wife and kids were watching the stream from the living room and were seemingly very entertained by it. William, the Whole Foods in my area does not sell duck eggs. I've looked multiple times, and they don't. I wish they did. It'd make it a lot easier, but they don't. I've gone over their egg section. I almost wonder if there's something legal in my state, like a law preventing that in Oklahoma, because here you can't buy kidneys, for instance, or animal brains in the stores here, but they're not legal, which is fine. I don't do organ meats really. For months I ate organ meats, suffered through it, and then when I stopped, I noticed no change whatsoever. There was nothing.
Meat. Did you hear this? Meat.
Yes. My little girl loves meat.
She wants meat, and she's crying because she can't have it right now.
But yeah, no, I've never noticed Whole Foods to have that. In fact, it's like the same in my state with raw milk. You can't buy it. The only raw dairy you can have is some raw cheese. And even then, there was a grocery store that I would go to regularly that used to have raw cheese, and now they don't. I need to go check the Sprouts in my town, not my town, but the Sprouts that I go to, or in Whole Foods, to see if they still have raw cheese, because the laws may have gotten tightened down on that. Yeah, I live in town, and then nobody around me has ducks or chickens, unfortunately. I used to get duck eggs from a farmer where I used to live. Yeah, I bet, and I'd love that. Any plans to do more cooking or food smoking videos? I'd like to. I bought a better camera for that. Actually, I bought a better camera to try to hook to my computer. I'm not sure it's appropriate for that, but at the very least, it would be good for food smoking. But the problem is, my setup was destroyed in the tornado. I mean, I still have my grills and things, but they're all on my porch now, my front porch. They had been under my carport beforehand, and I'd like to do that because, like, I had a great opportunity this past weekend when I did a whole bunch of pork belly and a bunch of brisket because I can do spices. So, but there's a million brisket videos online. If you want to, like, the only thing is I didn't trim the brisket at all, like at all. I just seasoned it and threw it in the grill, and it was fine. We had some people over for my kid's birthday, and I served them some brisket, and they liked it. And it was the cheapest, like sub USDA select brand, like style of brisket ever. Pretty cheap quality, but it was good. You went on the Eat Wild website to find duck eggs locally here in Texas. I may try that. Because I know that duck eggs are supposed to be really nice, but I know there's one place in Oklahoma that will mail them to me, but I don't trust eggs in the mail. I just don't trust them. They'll probably get here all broken, regardless of how good of the efforts they go to. Back on the pork thing, I mentioned this whenever I do mention pork positively in a video. I strongly prefer the heritage breed pork. So, for instance, Berkshire pork is available through Wild Fork Foods. Not sponsoring this stream at all, but that's the restaurant, like the higher end restaurant pork that you'll see, not Iberico. That's like the Wagyu of pork as they advertise it. But I tend to see that at Wild Fork Foods. And now we're getting to the time of year where I'll feel safe to be able to order some. So I'm going to stock some of that in my freezer. So we have any other questions here, or should I end this now? Because we've already gone about 3 times as long as my typical video on this channel. But yeah, no, I would also be interested if anybody knows how to cook egg yolks without using a bunch of dairy to substitute for the egg whites. Otherwise, I'm just going to eat them raw. So that or in a béarnaise sauce. Anyway, well, that seems to be it for now. So thanks for tuning in, folks. Let me know if you want more live streams. I just had a brief topic on the Japanese banning ultra-processed foods to talk about, and then we kind of went into just normal interacting with the chat. So let me know what you want to see in the future, and I will definitely consider doing these again. Oh, you're dependent on corn-free eggs and have had very good luck with them. That's good to know also. All right, well, thanks for tuning in today, folks. I do appreciate it, and check out Monday's video when it goes live. Until then, have a nice day.